The NBA season is quickly approaching its end, with each team only having about 5 games left on their remaining schedules. With that said, we've seen more than enough from every team and player, and should have a pretty good feel for where everyone stacks up against the competition. This is especially the case with the individual awards races, which is the topic of today's video. Specifically, we'll be going over, in order, who I believe should win the Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Most Valuable Player, along with my reasoning why. Before we start though, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now, with that being said, let's begin. First, let's take a look at the Coach of the Year race. This race is very tight in my opinion, and there are quite a few options that have legitimate cases to win it, but in the end, I went with Doc Rivers of the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers have quietly been one of the most consistent teams in the league without any all-star talent. In fact, here's a fun fact for you all. The Clippers are only the 4th team in NBA history to win over 45 games without a single player on the roster having ever been named an all-star in their careers. In fact, their best player for most of the season, Tobias Harris, who was having a tremendous season for them, averaging over 20 points on awesome efficiency splits, got traded away at the deadline in exchange for some picks and Landry Shamet, who's a rookie, and Doc found a way to insert Shamet into the starting lineup, and the team somehow hasn't missed a beat. The Clippers being the 6th seed, with all of that happening throughout the year, beating the odds, is a nod to just how good of a job Doc Rivers has done coaching them, and because of that, he gets the edge for me. Now, the other top candidate, Mike Budenholzer of the Milwaukee Bucks, is also doing a tremendous job this year, and honestly, if he wins, I wouldn't even be mad. The Bucks have the best record in the NBA after a season last year that saw them finish as the 8th seed in the East under different coaching. His system that he implemented has definitely played a big part in their rise this year. It basically just comes down to preference, and for me, I prefer Doc's year over Bud's, even if it is ever so slightly. Up next, let's look at the 6th Man of the Year race. This one is a little bit less tight, but by no means is it a one-man race. With that said, my choice for this award is Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I promise you all, I'm not a Clippers fan, I swear. I've just been so impressed with everything that the team has been able to accomplish this year from top to bottom. As I mentioned earlier, this team was not picked to do all that much at all by anyone at the beginning of the year. And then when they traded away Tobias Harris at the deadline, the assumption was that they would fall off and lose their playoff spot to a team like the Lakers or the Kings, but that didn't happen at all. Lou Williams is like a fine wine in that he's been getting better and better with age, and is once again having one of his best seasons as a pro this year after having won the award last year. Averaging over 20 points and 5 assists, as well as being able to take over games down the stretch and hit big shots to win games, he's been great, and I think he should take home this award for a 2nd year in a row. Now, there are a few other nominees having good seasons as well, such as Derrick Rose of the Timberwolves and Domantas Sabonis of the Pacers. Rose, though, hasn't really contributed to winning in nearly the same capacity as Lou, as the Wolves currently sit at 11th place in the West, and while it would be a great story to see Rose win it after everything he's been through, it's very unlikely. Sabonis has been a big part of the Pacers' success, especially without Victor Oladipo for most of the year, and he would definitely be my pick for 2nd place, but in the end, I see Lou taking it home for a 2nd consecutive year. Up next, let's take a look at the Rookie of the Year race. Now, for most of the year, this was a complete one-man race. Luka Doncic came out of the gate absolutely on fire, lighting up the league in a way no one saw coming, and the rest of the rookie class, at least in terms of production, lagged very far behind him. As of late though, there have been numerous rookies playing very good basketball, with Trae Young leading the pack out of everyone else. Trae has made this a legitimate race to win the award over the last few months, which is great for the sake of narrative after they got traded for each other on draft day, but in the end, I'm still going with Luka Doncic for Rookie of the Year. Doncic is averaging 21 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 6 assists per game, which is an amazing stat line for a rookie. He's shown confidence to take over games, make difficult and clutch shots, and he's so crafty off the dribble. On top of all of that though, he's been consistently producing at a high level all year long. Trae Young took a bit longer to acclimate himself to the NBA game, struggling heavily at times early on. Through the month of November, his shooting was at 38% from the field and 25% from three, but as the season progressed, he steadily improved those numbers to 42% from the field and 33% from three. Unfortunately though, Doncic gets the nod here from me because of his consistency, although I do have to admit that Trae has been incredibly impressive lately and is destined to do big things on the Hawks moving forward. Up next, let's take a look at the Most Improved Player award race. This race recently sparked a lot of attention on social media after ESPN analysts Zach Lowe and Richard Jefferson got into a heated debate about the subject on The Jump. Zach was in favor of Pascal Siakam winning it, and Richard was in favor of D'Angelo Russell winning it, but for me, I'm siding with Zach here, because Siakam is my pick to win Most Improved Player as well. The jump that Siakam has made from last year to this year is actually absurd when you look at the numbers. He's more than doubled his scoring output, going from 7 per game to 17 per game. His rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks are all up from a year ago as well. He's developed into a reliable three-point shooter, which is something that he definitely was not last year, and most importantly, he went from a decent bench player to one of the most valuable players in the Toronto Raptors starting lineup. D'Angelo Russell is my pick for second place, because he too had an impressive leap this year. Russell struggled with injuries last year and showed flashes of what he could become, but never really put it all together. This year, though, he was able to stay healthy and consistently dominated, averaging 21 points and 7 assists per game on his way to making his first All-Star game of his career. While Russell is probably the better player at the moment, that's not what the award is for, and in my opinion, Siakam improved a little bit more than Russell did this year. Next up, let's take a look at the Defensive Player of the Year award, which again is really close with a few legit contenders. Rudy Gobert, Miles Turner, and Paul George are the 3 names in contention to win it this year, and in the end, I went with Rudy Gobert to win it for a second year in a row. Ultimately, my decision came down to a few nitpicks because the race really is so close. All 3 are the main reasons why their teams are top 5 defenses, but the Jazz rank 2nd in the NBA, the Pacers rank 3rd, and the Thunder rank 4th, so Gobert's efforts have elevated his team above the others. Additionally, he forces his opponents to shoot 4.1% worse from the field when he guards them, and 11% worse at the rim, both numbers being higher than the other two's numbers. Again, the race was really close, but Gobert's impact on his team combined with his individual numbers being better gives him the edge in my book. Last, but definitely not least, let's take a look at the MVP race. This one is clearly between Giannis Antetokounmpo and James Harden, who are both having out-of-this-world seasons in different ways, but my choice to win the 2019 NBA MVP is James Harden of the Houston Rockets. Early on in the year, the Rockets got off to a slow start, and then on top of that, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, and Clint Capella all missed a significant amount of games. This very easily could have been a down year for the Rockets, with a real chance they would struggle to sneak into the playoffs, but instead, Harden put the entire team on his back for a few months in a row and put up 40 and 50-point games like they were nothing, and he even broke Kobe's record for the most consecutive games of 30 or more points. In that stretch, much of it being without those 3 key contributors as well, the Rockets jumped from the bottom of the standings to a top 4 seed in the West, all because Harden did everything he needed to do for his team to succeed. He's also averaging 36.4 points per game, which is the most anyone has averaged in a single season since Michael Jordan in 1987. Plus, on top of that, he's been easily the most efficient player to ever average at least 35 points per game in a single season, with his true shooting percentage almost 5 whole percentage points higher than the next closest season. Now, I understand that Giannis is the traditional choice for the best player on the best team, but his team was deeper, more talented, and healthier than Harden's all year, and Harden himself has lost an MVP in the past for having more help than his opponent. So if the voters don't want to be hypocritical, in my opinion, the choice is James Harden. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Feel free to leave a comment down below with your thoughts, make sure to leave a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.